Hello, candle lovers! Thank you so much for tuning in to me today. My name is Greg, and this is all about candles. Happy Sunday, everyone. Every Sunday, I like to do the weekly wax wrap-up. This is when I go through all of the candles that I finished burning, talk a little bit about how they smelled, how they performed, all of that good stuff. At the end of that, we're going to get into some candle company news. I've got stuff to talk to you guys about when it comes to Bath & Body Works, Goose Creek, Yankee, Kringle. Somebody sent in a burning question, so we're gonna have a quick little burning question segment, and also we need to do a recap of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. I know that not everything in this video is going to appeal to everybody, so if you would like, please use the chapters below to navigate to whatever part of this video you might be interested in. I've got a ton of candles to get through this week, folks, and there's a couple reasons for that. Some candles I had completely forgot that I finished and had been like hiding in a different cupboard for a little while. And also it was just one of those weeks where I had a bunch of candles that were like at the 1/3 mark there. And so I spent a lot of the week trying to burn through a lot of candles that were almost finished so I could get them out of my place, get rid of as much Halloween stuff as I can. Lots of Halloween candles to talk about this week. And also, you know, there's quite a few duplicates. Like I didn't finish burning all 3 of these Wicked Vanilla Woods candles this week. I've just been holding them because there's no point in me talking about Wicked Vanilla Woods in every single weekly wax wrap-up that I do for the entire month of October. So I just held on to them and we'll talk about them all together right now. But let's start things off with this ice cream float from Bath & Body Works. This was the only completely brand new Halloween fragrance that we got from Bath & Body Works this year. I thought the packaging on this candle was nice enough. I liked this Halloween collection. The regularly priced Halloween candles I thought were perfectly fine. They did look really, really cool when they were burning. The way that they illuminated was pretty nice. And we had a fun like black lid on here. Don't think my camera's picking that up, but we've got skeletons and bats on the lid. I also finished burning a single wick of the ice cream float, which is very, very, very similar vibe with like a gray wax and also a fun black lid. I always think it's fun and cute when we get, you know, something different as far as a lid goes for the single wick candles. This fragrance just wasn't really that exciting though, was it? The scent notes on it are fizzy cola, frightful vanilla float, and spooky sweetness. This fragrance just fell super flat for me. All I really pick up on is like that sort of Coca-Cola vibe. I think that they could have made this much more interesting. Let's make this a real like cherry and vanilla ice cream float. You know, like let the main component of the fragrance, the middle of the fragrance be that Coca-Cola note, but then there could have been like a little bit of a hint of cherry on top, and then give us a nice deep, rich, like sweet vanilla in the base of it so that you're really getting all 3 of those components in a strong way. I mean, this candle wasn't supposed to have any cherry in it. It doesn't say that. I'm just saying that they could have made this much more interesting by really giving us the 3 components of like an ice cream float with a cherry on top and just given this a little bit more depth and personality, because this really just smells like a can of Coke. And the candle didn't smell or perform all that great either. It wasn't terrible by any means, a little bit lackluster. I burned this down almost all the way until the bottom, but it did get a little bit dirty at the end there. I was definitely getting a bit of a dud out situation with the wicks. Like right at the end, it just called it a day and went on strike. And then when I blew it out and the wax hardened, it had become pretty dark and discolored, and I'm sure that I wasn't burning it for such a long time that would have caused it to happen. Kind of a bummer, and so I called it a day when there was still about this much wax left on it. I'd say that the strength and throw on the 3 wick was maybe like a 5.5 in my more open space. I only burned it in my more open space, and it had a little bit of a presence to it. I could detect that it was there, but it certainly wasn't blowing my mind by any means. The single wick candle obviously had even less strength and throw. I was burning this in a hurricane in the small bathroom for a while, and when I walked in, there was just a little bit of like a faintness of the Coca-Cola factory in the air. You know, maybe it would be like a 4.5, maybe a 5 in a hurricane in a small bathroom. I mean, just nothing to write home about. And yeah, I really wish that they had given us something a little bit more interesting. I have to say, I'm just so tired of seeing vampire blood and ghoul friend year after year after year. Ghoul friend, I absolutely cannot do. Vampire blood, I think, is okay. Candy apple cauldron is okay. I obviously love Wicked Vanilla Woods. But yeah, I really hope that next year Bath & Body Works gives us a couple new fragrances that are a little bit more interesting and dynamic and spooky. You know, I have to say by far my favorite Halloween candle this year was Wicked Vanilla Woods. Another Bath & Body Works one here. I love Wicked Vanilla Woods. I always have. I think that it's a good Halloween fragrance because it definitely has a little bit of like a dark spookiness to it, but it's also very pleasant. And this is the version of Wicked Vanilla Woods that we got last year, which I think is just spectacular. Like, really phenomenal work with the packaging on this one. I do love the snake lid. The snake lid is really, really fabulous. But I also really enjoyed the simplicity of the wraparound on the jar. Actually, I don't even think, it's not a wraparound. It was colored and it was a little bit sheer. And so the candle just looked beautiful when it was burning. And there's a little bit of an ombre effect to the sheerness in the glass as well, which it just made for a really, really beautiful, pretty burn. I love Wicked Vanilla Woods. The scent notes on it are magical vanilla, glowing amber wood, and enchanted pink pepper. And this is this year's version. And the scent notes are exactly the same. They haven't changed them. And I do have to say that these two candles, the one from last year and the one from this year, they performed exactly the same. They smelled exactly the same. I don't think that they had tinkered with the formula or the wax or the amount of fragrance at all. These performed almost identically for me. I really, really love this one. It's a really, really nice, soft vanilla. In my opinion, there's really something about this fragrance that smells quite bougie. You know, it smells a little bit like a bougie perfume to me. And it's that pink pepper in there that I think really sets this apart. There's a nice sort of smooth vanilla. It's not like a gourmand vanilla. It's like a smooth kind of vanilla bean situation. And then there's that pink pepper, which gives it a little bit of a kick and a little bit of woodsiness as well. I just love Wicked Vanilla Woods so much. And obviously, I burned through 3 versions of it this year, as well as 2 single wicks. I also went through 2 single wicks. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, yes, there were moments where I was having like a full-blown Wicked Vanilla Woods night. And I'd have 2 of the 3 wicks burning in my more open space, one of them in the bedroom, a single wick in the bathroom, and it was just a Wicked Vanilla Woods all up in here, and I loved it. I really enjoy this fragrance. I hope that it keeps coming back every Halloween, because I really do think it is one of the most suitable, sort of on point Halloween fragrances that they've been doing lately. I also think it works really well for body care. I enjoyed the shower gel quite a bit. So yeah, Wicked Vanilla Woods, always a good one. Obviously, I think I liked this packaging more than this packaging, although there is nothing wrong with this packaging either. And it looked really, really nice when it was burning as well. And we had a black lid with the bats and the skeletons on it. When this version came out last year, that was the first time here in Canada that we had ever seen price points above the $40 mark for like their fancy lid candles. And everybody was just like, you know, up until that point, even the fancier candles, they'd always clock in at like $38.99, $39.99. But this was the Halloween that we officially leapt into that like $40 price point, and people were pretty shocked about it. It took a while for the price to go down on these, and you know, eventually, of course, they had to clearance them all off at 75%, and I bought like 5 or 6 of them. The single wick candle does surprisingly well. I'd say that in my hurricane, in a smaller space, I had this on my desk for a little while. In a smaller space in a hurricane, it was getting up to like a 5 maybe, so you could definitely tell it was there. It had some presence to it. All of the 3 wicks performed the same for me, whether it was this year's or last year's. I'd say that this maxed out at like, if I'm being generous, I would give it a 6 in my more open space. It's definitely a little bit of a softer and more nuanced fragrance. Like, it's not really a fragrance that I think is really meant to be a powerhouse, you know? So 1 3 wick by itself in my more open area, I'd give it a 6. I could definitely tell that it was there. In the bedroom, it's getting up to a pretty solid like 6.5. So no major complaints about strength and throw. It's not or ever gonna be a barn burner. I have absolutely no problem lighting multiples, lighting multiple ones all at the same time and really digging my heels into the wicked vanilla woods. Okay, I also finished up a pumpkin carving. This isn't this year's version. When is this one from? This one was poured in 2023. I thought that this is a fabulous version of pumpkin carving. I had kind of a mixed experience with the performance, but this jar was fantastic. And the way that the jar glowed, and you could sort of, it was almost like a stained glass window of these scary like pumpkins and leaves and stuff. It just looked incredible when it was burning. The scent notes on pumpkin carving are freshly carved pumpkin, spiced pumpkin seeds, and smooth brown sugar. Yeah, pumpkin carving is such a good one. And one of the things I like about pumpkin carving is that you actually get like a pumpkin fragrance from this candle. A lot of the pumpkin fragrances that we get, especially from Bath and Body Works, often don't actually have really any pumpkin in them at all. They just use that autumnal pumpkin spice blend to give you that pumpkin impression. But pumpkin carving is one of the few candles where it actually smells, you know, like the inside of a pumpkin. And there is a considerable amount of like that pumpkin spice in here, but you absolutely pick up on like a deep pumpkin, a little bit of a woodsiness, maybe just a touch of smokiness. Man, I love pumpkin carving. And like I said, this version just looked beautiful when it was burning. However, I had issues right at the very end here. Brace yourselves. But that is what it ended up looking like. And I don't think that was my fault. Maybe, I mean, I let it burn a little bit longer than I should have. I wasn't keeping a close enough eye on it, but there's no way that I was letting it burn for longer than 3 hours. You know what I mean? Like, this must have happened after maybe 2.5 hours of burning. And I went to go look at it, and it was just really black and dark and swirly and murky. And so I just blew it out and called it a day at this point. I've got about this much left on there. Yeah, kind of a bummer. However, up until this point, it was a really nice, good, clean burn. So I'm not too sure what happened there. I've also been burning this version of pumpkin carving, and this is from this year. I don't think this packaging is as spectacular as that last one was, but it was still nice. And I actually thought that the packaging on this collection lent itself to the pumpkin carving candle more than the other ones. It illuminated really nicely when it was burning and lit up all of these little windows with the pumpkins in them. I still have quite a bit left on this candle, but I just wanted to talk to you guys about it this week because I don't want to do a pumpkin carving in my next weekly wax wrap up. I'd say that pumpkin carving, both of them got up to like a 7. This has always been a really strong candle and really consistent over the years. And yeah, in a more open space by itself, pumpkin carving was definitely getting up to a 7. So definitely adequate. They smelled exactly the same and they performed pretty much exactly the same for me as well. They both had white wax and like thick ropey wicks on them. I didn't notice any difference between that one and this newer version. I also finished up a couple of pumpkin cupcakes from Bath and Body Works. I went through 2 of these this fall. I really like pumpkin cupcake, you guys. I know that it's not exactly a candle that's usually in my wheelhouse, and it is really quite sweet, but something about pumpkin cupcake I've always really appreciated. We had kind of a fun new lid on this one as well. The scent notes on here are whipped buttercream, Madagascar vanilla, pumpkin spice, and freshly baked cupcake. Yeah, I mean, pumpkin cupcake is pumpkin cupcake. I think I'm in it at this point. I think I'm in it more for the nostalgia than anything else. You know, it's one of those fragrances that I used to like. I really genuinely loved it like back in the day. And now I still pick 1 or 2 up every fall just because it's one of those go-tos. It's like one of those tradition candles for me that even though I'm not super obsessed with it, I still want to burn a couple every year. It's got a really nice sort of smooth sweetness to it. I do think that there's something about this fragrance that comes off as a little bit plasticky on cold, but it doesn't smell quite as plasticky to me when it's burning. And I mean, I don't know what to say, guys. I just really like pumpkin cupcake. It's just got like this really interesting, smooth sweetness to it. You guys know how much I love vanilla, and predominantly this is a vanilla fragrance with a little bit of pumpkin spice in there. And yeah, I've always really enjoyed it. I've probably burned a pumpkin cupcake like every single year for the last maybe 10 years or more. Like, this candle's been coming out for a really, really long time, and I always enjoy it. I was burning both of them at the same time for a little while in my more open area, but I also burned them by themselves. I'd say that in my more open space, pumpkin cupcake got up to like a 6.5 for strength and throw. Just one 3-wick by itself. Probably a 6, maybe a 6.5 if I'm being generous, which, I mean, really, that's just where we're averaging out when it comes to Bath and Body Works candles right now. You know, between a 5.5 and a 7, that really seems to be that the spot where we're averaging with Bath and Body Works candles. Love pumpkin cupcake. I'm getting sick of saying the word pumpkin, but we also have to talk about pumpkin snickerdoodle. Here we go, guys. Pumpkin snickerdoodle. I will say that fall is definitely the time of year where I get into more like bakery gourmand fragrances than I usually do. And I thought that this collection was really cute. I do like pumpkin snickerdoodle more than I like the Christmas one, which is just sugared snickerdoodle. I think there's a little bit more of a depth to the pumpkin snickerdoodle fragrance. The scent notes on here are warm sugar cookies, ground cinnamon, fresh nutmeg sprinkled with sugar. And yeah, it just smells, there's a very strong starchy like bakery component to this fragrance for sure. Like, you definitely pick up on that bakery component. And then there's a really nice sort of soft blend of autumnal pumpkin spices, which I appreciate, a considerable amount of sweetness. Yeah, I like pumpkin snickerdoodle. I like the fact that it's not super heavy on the cinnamon. A lot of the bakery fragrances that we get in the fall time are just a little too heavy on the cinnamon for me. And this one definitely has a little bit of cinnamon in there, but it's not overpowering, and it's not like the first and foremost sort of scent note that you pick up on, which I appreciate. Yeah, just a really lovely cookie bakery autumnal fragrance. I enjoy a pumpkin snickerdoodle once in a while. All right, I also finished up Harvest Gathering. I thought that this collection was just gorgeous. This really outdoorsy, there's almost like a painterly vibe to the wraparound on here. Just stunning. And then the way that the label in the middle of it, not the label, but the way the text box sort of has this shiny, leafy outline to it that sparkles, just stunning. And we had a green lid on the candles in this collection. I thought these candles looked great. The scent notes on Harvest Gathering are fresh picked apple, autumn berries, and clove buds. I hadn't burned Harvest Gathering for a fairly long time. And so I wanted to give it a go. When I was smelling it in the store, I was like, oh, this actually smells pretty good. Even though I'm not big on apple fragrances, I wanted to give this a try. I thought it was all right. You know, this candle kind of got outshined by some other stuff that I was burning around the same time. For example, that autumn fragrance is so fabulous. That autumn fragrance might be my second favorite apple candle now at Bath & Body Works after Mahogany Apple. But Harvest Gathering I thought was interesting because there's some apples and some berries and then a little bit of clove, which gives it a little bit of like a punchiness, a little bit more personality than your average apple and berry candle might have. Yeah, and you do pick up on the clove buds in there, although it's not like a super overpowering, like really pungent clove bud situation. It's balanced quite nicely, but I didn't think this was a terribly successful candle in terms of strength and throw. I burned this all the way down until there was like nothing left. It was a really nice clean burn from the top to the bottom there. However, the strength and throw wasn't great. In my more open space, it was getting fairly lost. If I'm being generous, I'd give it a 5, and 5 is kind of like base level passing grade, like I could just barely tell that it was there. I'd say it was probably honestly more around a 4.5. Like I really, you had to kind of search for this one a little bit. But you know what? It wasn't bad. I'm glad that I tried it. I don't think that I'd repurchase it, but I'm definitely not like mad at it either. I also finished up a couple versions of Sweater Weather this fall. I got one from the White Barn core line and one from this really pretty sort of painterly collection that they did. I really enjoyed this candle. It doesn't pick up that well on camera, but there is sort of a bit of a textured pattern to this wraparound that looked really pretty when it was burning. Just super like simple and contemporary. Although I thought this White Barn version looked really great as well, with this sort of glittery, almost kind of iridescent glass on this one. Not bad, just a plain lid on there. This one had a black lid. Both of these candles had white wax and like the thick ropey wicks on them. I'd say that these performed exactly the same. There was really no difference. The scent notes on Sweater Weather are fresh sage, juniper berries, aromatic eucalyptus, and fresh woods. Yeah, I've always really liked Sweater Weather, you guys. This is one of my favorite Bath & Body Works candles for both like the fall and for like deep winter time. I'll probably burn another Sweater Weather at some point before the year's over. It's got this really interesting kind of smoothness to it. You definitely pick up on the herbaceousness of like the eucalyptus and the juniper. Juniper, to me, I always describe juniper as smelling just a little bit like gin, although this juniper smells a little bit more like a little bit more natural, a little bit more herby than like a straight up gin does. There's also some sage in here. The eucalyptus gives it a really nice sort of chilled kind of cooling effect that I really appreciate. I'd say that this version, actually both of these versions, performed really quite well. I might even say I think that these were a little bit stronger than Sweater Weather was last year. I burned them both all the way down until there was nothing left. A little bit of discoloration at the very end of the candle there, but in my more open space, this was a very solid 6.5, and I'd say it got up to a 7. Just like on its own, in my more open area, definitely hit a 7. on some of the deeper wax pool burns. It did really well. I was really happy with Sweater Weather this year. It really hit the spot for me. I also finished up a Cuddle Weather. This Cuddle Weather was poured in 2023. Not a super exciting packaging job on these, but I think it's nice enough. It looks kind of like quilty and cozy and warm, and we had a cream color lid. This candle was a melter for me. I just kept it under the heat lamp in my kitchen for about a week. The scent notes on Cuddle Weather are warm gingerbread tea, cinnamon shortbread, and a cozy blanket. I've got to say, this is probably my favorite kind of like bakery, cinnamony, gourmand that Bath & Body Works does in the fall time. There's something really nuanced and nicely balanced to it. This wax has like no fragrance left in it at all. It definitely has that sort of gingerbread cookie feel to it, but there's something about the ginger note that's just very authentic, and it's a soft gingerbread note, but it's also, it's like a soft ginger note, but it also smells really authentic, which I think is sometimes hard to find. And there's a considerable amount of like a graham cracker or a graham cookie vibe to this that is almost like a little bit crunchy, but I also feel like I pick up on the tea note as well. There's something just very warm and comforting about this fragrance. I really enjoy it. Yeah, and like I said, I melted this under the candle lamp in my kitchen for about a week. I'd say that those first couple of melts, this was getting very, very strong. Like I'd say maybe a 7.5. My kitchen is, I'd say like a medium-sized space, and I do use a candle lamp with like a 50-watt bulb, and I position it like probably just an inch or two above the candle, so my candle lamp will liquefy an entire 3-wick candle from Bath & Body Works or Goose Creek, and it did really well under there. I usually melt the candles for like 8-hour intervals once a day for about 5 days, and then I find that they've become pretty weak. The first couple melts on it were definitely getting to like a 7, 7.5, and then of course it goes down to, you know, a 6.5, a 6. By the time Friday rolls around, I put it in the candle crock and I suck the last little bit of fragrance out of there. So yeah, definitely a good performer under the candle lamp. I haven't actually burned that candle regularly for a while, but I seem to recall that it did pretty good just for strength and throw as a regular burn. I don't remember having any major complaints about it, which is why I probably repurchased it. Okay, also I finished up a Homeworx candle. Haven't had a Homeworx candle on the channel for a month or two. This is Haunted Woods. This candle's been around for a really long time. I'd say a Haunted Woods, I think that it's probably been around for 4, 5 years, maybe 6 years. Maybe more than that. I'm not much of a Homeworx historian. The first time that I burned it though, it was in much cooler packaging. It was this version here. I loved that version of Haunted Woods. I probably purchased it like 2 or 3 times. This version just looks kind of lame and cartoony to me. I do like the black lid with the Harry Slatkin emblem on it. And the scent notes on Haunted Woods are dark woods, provides an earthy, mysterious, and deep base to the fragrance. Black rose adds a floral yet dark and dramatic element. Dark plum contributes a rich, fruity, and slightly sweet aroma. Amber offers a warm, mystical, and inviting base note that rounds out the scent profile. Oh, I love this one, you guys. This one is just intoxicating to me. I definitely say this is my favorite Halloween candle that Homeworx has ever done. It's that deep, rich, jammy plum, a considerable amount of amber, just a little bit of woodsiness. It smells very rich, deep, jammy, authentic, and there's a bit of a wine note in here. And this candle reminds me of two of my other very favorite candles from different brands. It reminds me a little bit of Fairy Dust from Village Candle, and it also reminds me a little bit of Blush Amber and Peony from Bath and Body Works. And I'd say that what they have in common is that jammy plum vibe that also comes across a little bit like a wine note. And wine notes tend to automatically sort of give you a bit more of an expensive or kind of elevated fragrance profile, which I really enjoy. Oh man, this is a good one. And the wax on this was beautiful. A really, really beautiful plum colored wax. And I will say, the strength and throw on this one was spectacular. And even though I said I liked the one in the other packaging more, I think that this one was stronger. This was extremely strong. I'm not used to Homeworx candles being this strong. This was probably an 8 in like my more open space. So it never even got moved to like the bedroom or the bathroom. In my more open area, this was an 8 and it traveled as well. I could kind of pick up on it all throughout my place, no matter where I was. Really, really good strength and throw on this version of Haunted Woods. Oh man, it's just so rich and deep and dark and jammy. I just love this, you guys. Yeah, and that wax was beautiful too. However, my biggest issue with the last couple Homeworx candles that I've burned is that the wicks are just so finicky. Oh my goodness, the wicks really stressed me out. First of all, they're placed very, very closely together, and that is actually where the wicks were placed. They didn't drift at all, but man, they sure bent and swayed with the wind, and I had to be very, very careful about not burning this candle too long, because then when I blew it out, the wicks would dip over and fall into the wax pool, and I had to take my wick dipper to like straighten the wicks so that the candle wouldn't harden with one of the wicks like flopped over in the wax pool. Maybe I burned it a little bit too long, but that's the other thing about Homeworx candles that really bothers me sometimes. This took a very, very long time to pool out. I'd say it probably took an hour, maybe an hour and a half to pool out. And so then you have a very small window of time where the candle is performing nicely, because you need to blow it out before it gets a little bit too crazy and the wax pool becomes too deep. Because I mean, you can even see now those wicks are like bent over and crooked, right? When I blew it out, the wicks would fall into the wax pool. Maybe I was burning it for too long, but I would probably, once the whole thing pooled out, I would probably only burn it for another hour or an hour and a half after that. I would never burn it for longer than like 3, maybe 3.5 hours. But I was just constantly worrying about what the wicks were doing. Even when the candle was burning and doing its thing, one would be tipped over to the point where it was almost extinguishing itself, so I'd have to get the wick dipper and straighten it. And yeah, just, I don't know, Homeworx needs to figure out their wicks. This was also a fairly sooty candle at times, you guys, which, I mean, like I said, there was a very small window of time that I felt like this candle was doing its best job, because it would take like an hour to an hour and a half to pool out. And then once it did pool out, it would be fine for maybe about a half hour, 45 minutes. But then you started to worry about it. I could see soot coming off of it. The wicks would start to bend over into the wax pool. When you blew it out, the wicks would fall into the wax pool. But you know what? It was all worth it. It was all worth it, because I love this fragrance so much, and it was really nice and strong too. Even now, just smelling it on cold, even wax that has been completely liquefied already, it is coming across as a really, really strong one. So yeah, Haunted Woods from Homeworx, I really, really enjoyed this. And this is another candle, if I can get my hands on it. I like to burn one of those Haunted Woods candles every Halloween. Okay, let's get into some Goose Creek candles as well. Finished off some good Goose Creek candles this week. This Farmhouse Lavender, I really enjoyed. I like the wraparound on this candle as well. So pretty and vibrant. Oof, this might be one of my new favorite lavender candles, folks. I really enjoyed this one. The scent notes on it are dried lavender bundles, white pumpkin, and farmhouse spice. Oh, this is a good one. Oh my goodness, it's so rich. It's like a soft but rich lavender note. I'd say it's more of like an English lavender than like a strong, stern French lavender. The actual lavender note itself is really quite light, but it's definitely there. And there's a considerable amount of autumnal spice in this as well. Nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon. I really like this one. And it is quite similar to what is it? Lavender sugar. I ordered a lavender sugar not too long ago, and somebody in my comment section, I'm sorry, I can't remember what your name is, but somebody in my comment section said that the lavender sugar is basically exactly the same as this, and I didn't think that that could be possible. Like, how could a lavender sugar candle with pictures of like purplish sugary cookies, how could that be the same as Lavender Farmhouse? But they are actually extremely similar. I'd say that sugared lavender candle is a little bit sweeter than this though. Whereas the sugared lavender candle leans kind of a little bit sweeter, this one leans a little bit spicier. And there's also sort of an earthy component in here as well. A little bit of like an herbaceousness that I really enjoy. You know what? It reminds me a little bit also of Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice from Bath and Body Works. Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice has no lavender in it whatsoever, but if you were to take Farmhouse Pumpkin and Spice from Bath and Body Works and give that a lavender note, that is very close to what we're getting in this Farmhouse Lavender candle. Really lovely. I wouldn't say it's floral first and foremost. I'd say that it's got much more of like that autumnal spice blend. They say white pumpkin. And whenever Goose Creek or Bath and Body Works say white pumpkin, we're talking about a little bit of a chai spice as well. And there's definitely a component of that in here also. And just a nice sort of soft, light English lavender floral note. Really nicely balanced, but also so deep and rich. And this candle performed so well. Oh my gosh, really nice clean burn from Goose Creek on this one. I burned it all the way down until I could see the wick nickels. There is like nothing left. All of the wax on this one had liquefied. Just a really great, nice, clean burn. And the strength and throw on this in my more open space was a very solid 7.5. Very good strength and throw. And I did put it in the bedroom for a little while. It was getting up to like an 8 or an 8.5. It was a little bit much for me in the bedroom, so I mostly burned this in my more open space, and it was really quite prominent, quite vocal, and really lovely. I really enjoyed Farmhouse Lavender. This will absolutely be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you. I am gonna start burning that, whatever it's called, that sugared lavender cookie. I'm gonna start burning that one pretty soon as well, and then I'll do a little bit more of a detailed comparison. Also finished up Autumn Road Trip from Goose Creek, from that same collection as Farmhouse Lavender, and once again, a really stunning wraparound on this one. I really like the packaging on this collection, and the wraparound labels also had a really nice, almost like glassy kind of shine to them that I enjoyed. When I first smelled this candle on cold, I was not impressed. I was thinking to myself, this might not be a candle for me, but I'm happy to report that when it was burning, it really opened up and was very lovely. The scent notes on here are wild fig, autumn acorns, fall foliage, and a cool breeze. And when I initially smelled it on cold, there was something about that fig note that came across as a little bit like a sweet and sourness that I wasn't completely getting behind. But then when this candle was burning, that fig note really smoothed out into just a really lovely, like smooth, sweet, deep, rich fig note. And I love a fig note. Yeah, this candle's definitely one that you can't judge by smelling it on cold. It was really quite different when it was burning. And there was also a fair bit of woodsiness in here as well, kind of like a woodsy, breezy, kind of foresty, sweet fig vibe. Yeah, I really ended up enjoying this one. It was much more nicely balanced when it was burning. You sort of get that sweet, smooth fig note, and then like a woodsy herbaceousness. And in the base, there was almost like a little bit of like an earthy nuttiness to it that I really, really enjoyed. Yeah, and also this candle as well just performed beautifully. Burned it all the way down to the bottom there. Really nice clean burn, really nice clean wax at the end there. And this was a strong one too. It had a definite presence to it. I'd also say that in my more open space, this was easily getting up to like a 7 or a 7.5 for strength and throw. I never even put this one in the bedroom. To me, this was just really belonged in the more open, airy space, and it just had this lovely, like breezy, autumnal, sweet fig vibe to it. I ended up loving Autumn Road Trip. This will absolutely be a repurchase for me and a recommendation for you. Now I'm gonna have to move on to something that I did not enjoy. And in fact, I am not even gonna be able to finish this one. I think I might just give the rest of this one to a friend. I have a friend, whenever I have a candle that I've burned and I'm just not gonna be able to see it through, I will always give that candle to my friend Mel. She's perfectly happy to take a secondhand candle and see for herself whether she's gonna like it or not. This candle might end up going to Mel. This is Scary Cherry Brownie. Sorry, maybe I should say what this freaking candle is. We got a scary looking spider on there, but to me, nothing was as scary as the way this candle smelled when it was burning. I liked this Halloween packaging from Goose Creek though. We had a black lid on here. A lot of the Halloween candles from Goose Creek this year were repackages of the Beetlejuice candles that we got like last year. And I actually do have a couple more Halloween Goose Creek candles that I'm trying to get through. So hopefully they'll show up in my weekly wax wrap up next week. But the scent notes on this Scary Cherry Brownie were blood red cherry, creepy cocoa, and frightening fudge. And I would say that this candle was creepy and frightening, but not in the good way. It is just, oh, it is so rich and so chocolatey, and that the cherry note in here is what absolutely I just can't get behind. The cherry note in here is very artificial, and when it was burning, it really came across as a little bit sour. And so it was this really sort of like sour, chocolatey, like fudgy. It smells more like a batter to me than it does like a cooked bakery good. There's something kind of like thick and moist about it that I just did not enjoy. And like I said, that cherry note in here, it's not great on cold, but when it was burning, it was really, really sour. And then to top it off, the strength and throw on this candle was just out of this world, like way too much. And in fact, I'm wondering if I can't say that this was a 10 for strength and throw. If I were to be more conservative, I'd say that it was definitely a solid 9 for strength and throw. And I'm talking about in like a more open space here, folks. However, I mean, if I'm gonna be using a scale of 1 to 10 on strength and throw, if this candle isn't a 10, then I don't know what is. This was just so strong. I really do love that, the color of the wax on there. In my more open space, I'd say this was a 9. I wouldn't dare put it into a bedroom or a smaller space because it would definitely be like a 10 or an 11 out of 10 in there. And it traveled. This candle stank up my whole entire place. I could smell it no matter what room I was in. And as soon as you lit it, like a minute after lighting it, it was like a 6 or a 7 for strength and throw. When there are just little teeny pools of wax around each of the wicks, it's giving me like a 7. And then when you had a deep, even wax pool in it, it was almost assaulting, just woof, oof. Woof. This candle was a woof for me, you guys. Definitely not like a repurchase. And I wouldn't recommend it based off of the way that fragrance comes across, like that cherry note. However, if for whatever reason you think that this might be a fragrance that you would enjoy, I have to recommend the candle. Like, I've only burned about half of it, but it's one of the strongest candles I've ever burned before in my life. Straight up. And you guys know there's been a lot of candles. There's been a lot of candles. This was one of the strongest candles I've ever burned before. And I just wish that I had liked the fragrance more, but alas, I just, couldn't do it with the Scary Cherry Brownie. That was way too much for me. Oh, I also finished up some candles that I purchased from Michael's. So let's talk about this one first. This is Lotus Lagoon. Now, I do not buy candles from Michael's for a legitimate fragrance experience. These big jars, these are 17 ounces with a single wick. These regularly go on sale for like $3. And what I actually do with these candles is I just burn them outside for like ambience and for lighting. In fact, I have like these sort of blue kind of opaque vases that I put these candles in, and I burn them outside, and it just creates a really beautiful lighting situation. This Lotus Lagoon, it's not a bad fragrance when you smell it on cold. It does smell fairly cheap, but it's kind of like a nice watery floral, but you get absolutely no strength and throw out of these candles. Like, I'd give it maybe a 1. Like, you have to be hovering above the candle to be able to smell it at all. But for the most part, they burn really nicely all the way from the top to the bottom. They burn forever. Like, I will probably let these candles sometimes burn outside for like 7 or 8 hours at a time. And like I said, these go on sale for super duper cheap. Sometimes they go down to like $3 each. So if you can get them on sale like that, and you just want some nice candles to create ambience that you can keep lit for a really long time, I actually think that these are really good. They don't tunnel terribly. They don't drag a whole bunch. I don't usually burn them indoors though. And the Michael's brand is Ashland. Whatever. I also finished up this one from Michael's, and it just has a little tag on it that says Coastal Breeze. I actually thought that the glass on this jar was really nice though, and we sort of have like a rustic, like wooden kind of cork lid on here, but this Ocean Breeze candle was actually really lovely. You don't get any like scent notes on these candles. These are regularly priced at $19.99. I'm sure I only paid like $7.99 or $8.99 for this one. And I'm in the store looking around and smelling everything. And when I smelled this one, I was like, that's actually really nice. It's basically bergamot, a lot of aldehydes, and maybe something a little bit floral. Once again, it's definitely got a little bit of a cheaper fragrance vibe to it. It's not quite at like dollar store candle level, but it's almost there. There's like a bit of a citrusy bergamot, a bit of a light floral, and sort of an airy aldehydic quality to it. And when I smelled this in the store, I was like, ooh, I think I'm actually gonna get this one. And it actually burned pretty well. Like, look at that. I mean, I burned that down until there was nothing left at all. I didn't actually burn this inside my house that much either. I mostly had this like in a large glass hurricane outside. It looked really pretty when it was burning. And this is actually a very similar sort of blue glass opaque vibe that I was talking about. The vases that I'll put these candles in, it's a very similar color, and I might actually even like clean this jar out and save it. Yeah, I mean, not terrible. I maybe burned it inside once or twice. The strength and throw was not good. Maybe like a 4. You know, like I couldn't detect it when I was like just walking into the space that it was in. I needed to probably be about 4 paces away from it to really be able to pick up on any fragrance whatsoever. But I don't know, a surprisingly not terrible candle from Michaels. And this is the same brand, like Ashland, whatever. These are $14.99 in the States, $19.99 in Canada. I would never, ever, ever pay $20 for this. This needs to be like below that $10 mark for sure. Okay, I also finished up some Into the Night single wicks from Bath and Body Works. These ones were poured in 2023. One of them I burned and one of them I just melted under my candle lamp because, man, this Into the Night single wick was such a struggle. The scent notes on it are raspberry noir, velvet rose petals, mocha musk. If you've guys been watching my channel for a while, you know that I love Into the Night. It's probably my favorite, like, long-standing body care fragrance from Bath and Body Works, but this single wick was just a nightmare to get through. I saw it through, though. I burned it all the way down till there was nothing left, but look at all the dragging that the wax did on the side of the jars there. We have a really dark black wax on this candle, and that's not usually a good recipe for Bath and Body Works. This candle tunneled. Oh my goodness. Like, you really had to make sure that you could burn this for like at least 4 or 5 hours so that it would pool out properly. And even when it did pool out properly, it was almost always like an itty bitty wick in a teeny tiny flame. And so something that I almost never do, like last resort for me, I ended up having to remove the wax from this candle a couple of times just to like breathe some life into it. And then it was like dragging and tunneling so bad, I put it under a heat lamp for a couple hours just to even it out and melt it down a little bit, and then removed a bit of wax and tried, I mean, it was just a nightmare. And I bought quite a few of these during semi-annual sale, but I will never be burning it again. I just melted this one. I melted this in a candle lamp in my bedroom. And it did so well under the candle lamp in my bedroom. I'd say that it got up to like a 7 for strength and throw. When I was burning this one in like a hurricane in a smaller space, like on my desk or in the small bathroom, even in a hurricane, I mean, this was so problematic. Like maybe it was like a 4 for strength and throw. You had to be pretty close to it to be able to smell it properly. But when this sucker was under the heat lamp in my bedroom, it did extremely well. It was definitely getting up to like a 7 for strength and throw. I love Into the Night so much. I got a ton of these at semi-annual sale. I won't be burning them any longer. They're just going straight under the candle lamp because it performed so well under the candle lamp. I have noticed that the newer version of the Into the Night single wick that they've had has had white wax on it. So hopefully that has kind of fixed the burn issues with that one. I also finished up this Waikiki Beach coconut, this single wick from Bath and Body Works. So just so you guys know, the reason why these candles are appearing in my weekly wax wrap up, because these are obviously like summer fragrances, like this one and the Michaels candles, the Lotus, Lagoon, and the Coastal Breeze. I was getting some stuff out of my storage outside and realized that I had put these candles in there. So I brought them inside and just wanted to include them in a wrap up. Waikiki Beach Coconut has scent notes of tropical white coconut, salt saltwater breeze and sun-bleached woods. Not my favorite coconut candle from Bath and Body Works, but there is something really kind of like warm and tropical and soothing about this one that I appreciate. Yeah, and like several months ago, I was probably burning this in like August. I did have it in my bathroom in a hurricane for a little while, and it did okay. I'd say it was like a 5 for strength and throw, so you could walk in there and definitely detect it, but it ended up just becoming an outdoors candle, which is part of the reason why it ended up in the storage with these other candles. I got this at semi-annual sale for like $4 or something. Waikiki Beach Coconut. Nothing spectacular, but nothing terrible either. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for candles. Just a really random weekly wax wrap-up candle-wise this week. But we are going to get into a little bit of candle company news now. Things are happening at Bath & Body Works. I posted a Christmas candle haul with Steve the other day, and we had so much fun recording that one, and it seems like you guys had a lot of fun watching it. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. I got a bunch of the new Christmas candles, and also we did quite a few hand soaps as well in that video. So if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead and do so. The new cookie collection I did not include in this candle haul because I didn't want any of them. That cookie collection, I believe there's 3 candles. There's peppermint sugar cookie, crispy cookie edges, and frosted chai cookie. I think for some reason these got released in Canada sooner than they were released in the States, because they're in the stores already and they're also online on the Canadian website, but none of them appeal to me except for peppermint sugar cookie. Peppermint sugar cookie I really, really like, and I have a bunch of backups in my collection because during semi-annual sale, they went down to like $6 or something. So I stocked up on my peppermint sugar cookie. That's actually one of my favorite like gourmand Christmassy fragrances from Bath and Body Works. But crispy cookie edges and frosted chai cookie just don't really appeal to me that much. So I'm sitting out on that collection. We have some new online exclusives in the States, and some of these sound interesting to me. Balsam and Firewood, I'd be really interested in trying. Cranberry Pomegranate, I wasn't obsessed with. Lavender Vanilla is always a good one. Hot Buttered Rum, I don't think that I would like that. I've got a feeling that's going to be a very sweet, like ooey gooey, caramel, buttery situation. And Vanilla Birch. Vanilla Birch is always fantastic. So yeah, Balsam and Firewood, Cranberry Pomegranate, Lavender Vanilla, Hot Buttered Rum, and Vanilla Birch. Whenever something comes out as an online exclusive in the States, it's very rare that we ever see it get released here in Canada. So I'm not getting my hopes up, but for the most part, the ones that I like, I already have. You know, I've got some lavender vanillas. I've got a lot of vanilla birch. Balsam and Firewood, though, is one that I would like to try. I don't think I've ever tried that candle before. I can't remember if it's completely brand new or not, but that one would interest me. Oh, we had some Candle Day news. So I was catching up on Life Inside the Page, which is a really great blog. Life Inside the Page, the lady that runs that blog, I don't know how she does it, but she always gets the tea. She's usually fairly accurate. I'm sure if most of you guys are watching this channel, you've been to the Life Inside the Page blogspot page before. But anyways, she got some tea on what kind of candles we might be seeing for Candle Day, and it is not good, my friends. It is not good. So this is probably still hearsay at this point, but like I said, this is usually a pretty reliable source for Bath and Body Works news. So the 4 candles that we're apparently going to be getting on Candle Day are Chips and Dip, Pizza and Ranch, Popcorn and Slushy, and Happy Holiday Dill Pickle. Oh God, you guys, none of that appeals to me whatsoever. Chips and dip, pizza and ranch, popcorn and slushy, happy holiday. Ugh, I do not like savory food fragrances for home fragrance. That is like the one genre of fragrance that I just can't get behind. When was the last time they did that to us? There was that collection with like the maple bacon candle. Ooh. And then we had that the Stranger Things candle, Argyle's pineapple pizza. Oh, I did not enjoy that one. So yeah, savory food candles are just not something that I don't think I'm ever gonna get behind. So I might be sitting those out on Candle Day. Come on, Candle Day, give us something good this winter, please. I don't want a chips and dip candle. I certainly don't want a pizza and ranch candle. You know what? I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't end up getting those up here in Canada. Like, I don't know. None of that sounds even remotely good to me. You know what? I almost wish that they'd just go back to doing those ridiculous blends. You know, when they would do like ocean and vanilla bean and like Waikiki beach coconut and hot cocoa and cream, just those bizarre blends candles that every now and then would be remarkably good. I kind of wish they'd just go back to giving us a boatload of those, because I can't with these like savory food snack candles. No, thank you. Okay, over on at Goose Creek, they've added a couple of more Christmas collections. I think I'm still gonna wait for a bit more stuff to show up before I place an order, because I'm still not seeing the Wonderland candle or Vanilla Snowman, which is kind of like their sort of dupe of Vanilla Snowflake from Bath and Body Works. I'm really crossing my fingers that we see those. This collection has a couple of new fragrances in it, but I'm really not feeling the packaging on this collection. This collection is very cutesy with like photos that are just very literal and on the nose. This one's called Down the Chimney, and the scent notes are chimney smoke, clove buds, cabin wood, and oak moss. That sounds like something that I might like, so who knows? Maybe that will find its way into my cart. But man, I do not like the way that this collection looks, you guys. Go onto the Goose Creek website and have a little look-see for yourself and tell me what you think. This collection is much more my vibe visually, and I think there's more fragrances in this collection that sound appealing to me. This one's called Chestnut Firewood, and the scent notes are roasted chestnuts, toasted sugar, and smoked firewood. So I'm definitely interested in checking that one out. I want to get myself a Winter Splendor from Goose Creek this year, because everyone keeps telling me I've got to try that candle. Shout out to Betsy. Hey girl. Betsy left me a comment not too long ago and told me about Winter Splendor. That's one of their long-standing Christmas candles that everybody really seems to love a lot. So that's going to find its way into my cart as well. So yes, I'm still kind of lukewarm on the Goose Creek Christmas situation, but there's some good stuff there that I'll definitely be considering on getting eventually. Yankee has actually got a considerable amount of Christmas stuff happening, but it all looks like mostly repackages. The Yankee candle that I always like in the wintertime is just this balsam and cedar. I will say that the packaging on these repackages is fairly nice. For Yankee candle. It's not bad, but I always like balsam and cedar. The scent notes on this one are crisp citrus, herbs, red berry, middle notes pine, balsam, cedar, sandalwood, base notes vanilla, warm amber, smoky embers, and musk. This fragrance has been around forever. It's the one fragrance from Yankee Candle that you can pretty much guarantee I'm gonna be picking up every year. Christmas at Homeworx seems to be pretty much business as usual, nothing too spectacular, but they did do a repackage of their white birch collection. Beautiful white birch collection. They've got all different kinds of sizes and shapes and diffusers, and white birch is probably my favorite wintertime fragrance from Homeworx. And check out this beautiful 80-ounce 5 wick version of white birch. Oh my goodness, that looks gorgeous. I'm kind of tempted to want to track that down, but I have 2 of the regular 4-wick white birches already in my collection, so I'll be burning one of those this year and probably save one of them for next year. So I'm not sure if I'll be really trying to figure out how to get anything from Homeworx this Christmas. I've got my white birch. I've got a couple other random Homeworx candles that I'm looking forward to burning. The scent notes on white birch, by the way, are snow-capped mountains, crisp winter air. The middle notes are gilded white birch, winter white lavender, and the bottom notes are fresh oak and fir balsam. Just a lovely fragrance, and it looks like they did a great job with like the repackaging on that for Christmas this year. Kringle has tons of Christmas stuff going on. You guys know that I don't buy from Kringle anymore, but if you are interested in checking out some Kringle stuff, I would really recommend making sure that you follow Summer over at Fragrance Junkie and Tracy from 3-Wick Thesis. They both just became Kringle ambassadors. I couldn't think of 2 better people for the job. I'm very excited for them, and they've been posting tons and tons of Kringle content for the last little while. If you want to know why I don't buy from Kringle candles anymore, I do have a video out about it. And actually, I was just going through my playlists and like fixing up some of the playlists for my channel, and I saw that this video that I did like over a year ago, like why I don't buy from Kringle candles anymore, I saw that this video has gotten to 10,000 views. The last time that I looked at it, it was probably at like 2,000 or 3,000 views. So I don't know what caused the leap in viewership on this video, but I feel kind of bad. I'm actually thinking about taking it down because I do think that Kringle is like a nice company with great people behind it, but I was just getting asked so often why I don't buy from Kringle candles that I kind of just wanted to do a video and put it out there. And I also said in that video that like if Kringle ever wants to make it in any way feasible for me to get their candles up here in Canada without paying like $200, $300 worth of shipping and handling charges, I will take that video down. Okay. But anyways, speaking of the playlists, I just spent some time not too long ago like fixing all my playlists and updating them. So if you are new to my channel, go through those playlists and see if there's anything in there that you're interested in checking out. I've done over 300 dedicated candle reviews. So if you're interested in hearing about something, you might find it there. Ooh, and I've also got a burning question this week that I wanted to get around to. Somebody sent me an email. Let me just find my fake pair of readers that don't actually do anything. They are just for the vibe. Hi, Greg, new subscriber. I wanted to send you a burning question. Do you trim your wicks before you light a candle for the first time? They say that you should, but sometimes I find that makes the first burn go really slowly and it takes forever for a pool of wax to melt. Do you trim wicks more with other brands in particular? Thanks, your channel is so fun, Michelle. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for writing me a burning question. If any of you guys want to send me a burning question, send them to allabootcandles@gmail.com. Do I trim wicks before I light a candle for the first time? Honestly, almost never. Like, never. I really don't. I know that they say that you're supposed to, but just like you said, Michelle, I often find that if you trim wicks before the first time you light them, it makes the first burn go really, really, really slowly and takes forever to pool out. And then you might end up with a like dudding out candle forever. I mean, this is very complicated. I just talked forever about the issues that I had with the wicks on that Homeworx candle. I do always trim wicks before relighting a candle. Always, always, always. And I think because you get those little hard carbon balls at the top of most wicks, I really think it is important to always trim wicks before relighting a candle. But I almost never do it to a brand new candle unless it is a 3-wick from Bath and Body Works with the thin core wicks. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't have any fresh candles here. I'll put up a little video showing you a candle that has the thin core wicks. So those wicks I do trim, but not even very much. I might just take off like the little top of it. And I honestly don't even do it all the time, but sometimes I do. Sometimes I find that those thin core wicks just get to burning and raging so hot and fast and strong. And I do find that if I trim them before the first light, I'm able to let the candle burn a little bit longer, which I actually really enjoy. Sometimes if you don't trim those thin core wicks before you light them for the first time, you really do end up with like a huge wax pool in no time. You'll just turn around and the huge mushroom tops, it also helps prevent it. You still get the big mushroom tops if you trim those wicks, but it sometimes helps like mitigate some of those issues if you do trim those candles before you light them for the first time. So that is what I do. Anyways, I think that's all I've got for you folks in terms of like candle news and candle chit chat. How was your Halloween, everybody? I had a fantastic time. I had a little get together at my place on actual Halloween on the Friday. I always have friends over just for charcuterie and wine, and I always host like a little Halloween trivia game, and there's prizes. We had a lot of fun. And then last night, my friend Steve had a party, which was a little bit more of a rager, and a lot of people wore costumes, not me, but a lot of people wore costumes, and it was Saturday night, and it was really, really fun. So, Halloween, 2 Halloween parties. I was feeling a little bit rough this morning. I got up at 7 o'clock this morning so that I could get some errands done and do this weekly wax wrap up. I'm feeling a little bit worse for wear. And if you noticed, I've definitely been a little bit more scatterbrained throughout this video than I usually am. So yeah, no, my Halloween was great. Just like the typical stuff. I handed out candy on Friday before my buddies started coming over, and that's always fun to see all the cute kids in their costumes. Yeah, no, Halloween was really good this year. I usually leave all of my Halloween decorations and stuff up for about a week after Halloween, because then I just go straight into Christmas, while I'm like digging around in storage and everything and putting all of the Halloween stuff away. It just makes sense to get Christmas out and set up. So it's going to be Christmas time around this place pretty quickly here. Oh my gosh, we need to talk about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, you guys. Oh, these crazy bitches are just up to no good. Let's start off with Bronwyn, because Bronwyn, she was a new cast member last year. And she has quickly become one of the most prominent personalities on this show for sure. I mean, she's got issues, you guys. I don't think her daughter likes her. Her mother doesn't like her. Her husband doesn't like her. It's actually really, really depressing. So Bronwyn goes for ice cream with her husband. And this woman is just so ridiculous. She has to wear like an ice cream themed outfit to the ice cream shop, and her husband are going to get an ice cream together. And her grumpy husband, Todd, just does not want to have anything to do with this whatsoever. Like, I don't know how she managed to twist his arm to even show up here in the first place. Like, if you were to watch like last season, the first season that Bronwyn was on, her husband was such a miserable old fuddy-duddy, and you would have almost thought that like her husband would have watched it and kind of said to himself, oh, maybe I need to not be like such a stick in the mud. But for some reason he's back again on this season and just not enjoying himself. This man just has no sense of humor. He clearly does not want Bronwyn to be part of this show whatsoever, but for some reason he's still agreeing to participate in it. So they go for ice cream together, and Bronwyn just looks ridiculous, and Bronwyn's like, oh, this is just so nice. I just love ice cream. I just love it when the two of us get together and have some ice cream. So let me tell you what's going on with the girls. I'm really proud of myself because we had this luncheon and things got quite heated, but I really kept my cool and I kept myself together, and this ice cream is so good, and don't you dare take my cherry. You know that the cherry is my favorite part. And Bronwyn's husband, Todd, takes the cherry right off of her sundae, pops it into his mouth, and just like, I really don't know why you hang out with those women. I mean, this is just dirt level stuff here. I don't want you hanging out with these girls anymore. I don't know why you do it. And Bronwyn's like, you just ate my cherry. I just told you not to. And Todd's like, and Bronwyn's like, anyways, did you hear what I said? Things at the luncheon actually went really well, and I feel like we're starting to get along a little bit better now. Her husband just could not care less. Like, could not care less. It's so strange. Like, here Bronwyn is trying to make this whole ice cream scene happen. She's trying to like produce some somewhat compelling television here, and her husband just will not play along. Like, will not play along. And so then there's like news headlines, like, news flash, Bronwyn's being accused of this. Bronwyn has unpaid rent bills. Bronwyn was involved in some sort of scandalous lawsuit that's been sealed by the court, and so nobody can talk about it. Was it identity theft? Was it this? Was it that? All these horrible headlines have been getting leaked to the media, and it's been on page 6, front page news for a while now. All the other housewives are talking about it. So she has to sit down and have another conversation with Grumpy Todd and be like, I'm so sorry about all of this. Like, I can't believe that this is happening. I know that one of those girls is feeding fake stories to me, to the media, and I'm supposed to go yachting with them, like, tomorrow. And Todd's like, I don't know why you're involved with these women at all. They're lower than dirt. I think that you should just stop hanging out with them altogether. Well, Todd, Bronwyn here, if she wants to be part of the Real Housewives, she's gonna have to hang out with these other women. Like, this... My goodness, Bronwyn, maybe you just need to, I think you need to bow out of doing this show, because your life just looks so sad and depressing. It's gonna ruin your relationship with your daughter, with your mother, and with your husband. You look ridiculous, and I actually feel really kind of sorry for her. Like, it's getting pretty dark here, you know? And so anyways, Bronwyn's like, do you think I should go on this yachting trip with the girls? And Todd's like, no, of course not. I don't want you to go. And Bronwyn's like, oh, okay, well, you don't think that maybe I could like ask them about it and maybe we could patch things up? And Todd's like, no, absolutely not. Don't stoop to this level. But it's like, Bronwyn wants to be on this TV show. She's gonna have to go on this yachting trip. I mean, so here we go. One of the first trips of the season. Oh no, they also went RVing in those like ugly woods with all the dead trees. They went on like an RV trip at the beginning of this season, and now they're all going on a yacht. And they're doing like a crossover here because it's the Below Deck sailing yacht. Below Deck is also a really fun show from Bravo. So they're doing like a crossover because it's like the Below Deck yachters and the yachties that like run the yacht ships and stuff. And the housewives are getting on this yacht, and Bronwyn doesn't show up when all of the other girls do. She shows up on like one of those tender boats, you know? Once all the other girls had traveled all the way to wherever this is, the tropics, and they get on the yacht, and the yacht's already left the dock. Then Bronwyn shows up, you know, coming towards the yacht in her little Tinder boat. Hi, and she's wearing this ridiculous yellow, like buoy outfit, like this inflatable yellow couture outfit. And Lisa says to Heather, I've seen that outfit before on Instagram. And then the genius editors of the show like post the pictures to prove that like Bronwyn's already been seen wearing this ridiculous outfit on a boat before. So Bronwyn shows up several hours late and is acting like nothing is wrong at first. And all of the, you know, the below deck, like the yachties, the people who work on the boat, there's some fairly attractive, you know, younger men that work on this ship. And all these housewives are real horny old bitches, just hitting on all these like hot 20-year-olds that are from like Australia, and ooh, I love your accent, and blah, 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 blah. So Bronwyn shows up, And Bronwyn immediately talks to Heather Gay about all of the headlines and the bad press that she's been getting. And Bronwyn says she's done nothing wrong. She's like, yes, when I was 19 and single and pregnant, I didn't pay my rent for the last month when I lived in an apartment. But that was like 20 years ago. And then all this other stuff about the identity theft and the lawsuits. This wasn't me. This was something that happened at a different job, and I cooperated with it, but the court documents were sealed, so I cannot discuss it at all. But I was never arrested. I don't have a mugshot, none of that. And so it doesn't sound like there's that much there. It definitely sounds like somebody has been planting stories about her that make this whole situation sound way worse than it is. And the main suspect in question here is obviously Lisa, because not too long ago when Lisa was fighting with Bronwyn, Lisa called her Conwyn, as in you're like a con artist, right? Lisa's like, you're not Bronwyn, you're Conwyn. And apparently in one of these stories that was leaked to the press, they used the term Conwyn in that as well. So Bronwyn tells that to Heather, and then they're all sitting down for their first dinner, this first night that they're on the yacht. I mean, I could not think of a worse possible idea than putting this group of women on a ship together where there's like no way to get away, no exits or nothing. I mean, at one point, Mary and one of the other girls just leave and go to bed, and they're just sitting on the bed eating their snacks and not wanting to be part of this drama. These women cannot sit down for a dinner together without all hell breaking loose. They get into a huge fight. Bronwyn doesn't even accuse Lisa at first. Bronwyn doesn't even accuse Lisa about planting these stories about her in the press, but Heather does. Heather really takes one for the team and mans up and points at Lisa and is like, I'm going to be really honest here. Lisa, I think this is you. I think you've been planting stories. This has your fingerprints all over it. Boom! Everybody's standing up, yelling, fighting with each other. Lisa spills a drink purposefully on Danielle. Danielle gets up and throws her drink at Lisa. I mean, what a classic Real Housewives move. There's nothing better than like a drink in your face, you know what I mean? A glass breaks, and all of the people that work on this ship, all of the deckhands are watching these women just fight and behave like just atrocious behavior. The deckhands are standing watching all of this unfold just like, what the heck? Broken glass. One of the yachties has to come around and is like cleaning up and vacuuming up the broken glass while they're all yelling and screaming and pointing fingers and throwing stuff at each other. I mean, just ridiculous. All of these women should be completely embarrassed and ashamed of themselves, and that is why we love to watch The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Anyways, that's all I've got for you folks today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to leave it here, but you can follow me on Instagram at allabootcandles and email those burning questions to allabootcandles@gmail.com. If you could hit me up with a like and a comment and subscribe to my channel, that would mean the world to me. There's also this other weird thing now, this hype thing. There's like hype points. I don't know what it means or how it works, but if you wanted to hype me, give me some of your hype points. It's just another one of those things that YouTube like wants us to be doing now so that our videos reach more people. I don't know, whatever, who cares? Until next time, my dear, gorgeous, and beautiful candle-loving friends, let's burn some candles and bitch about it. Thanks, you guys. Bye for now.